Leaks from a UN report say progress in Somalia, which marks 52 years of independence this month, is being blocked by massive corruption at the highest levels. So who is responsible? And is there even the political will for good governance in the future? This is Inside Story. Hello there and a warm welcome to the programme. I'm Laura Kyle. Well, the report by the UN monitoring group says 70% of money earmarked for development and reconstruction has disappeared. The fingers of blame are being pointed at the offices of the President, the Prime Minister and the Speaker of Parliament. But the government has angrily rejected the accusations, saying they're against peace at a time when Somalia is moving from transitional government to an elected president. Nazneen Moshiri reports from Mogadishu.
The elders of Somalia hold the political future of the country in their hands. They should have chosen members of a constituent assembly by now. The assembly will back a new constitution and appoint the parliament. These tribal leaders say they won't hand in the names until they're given more of a role in government.
The elders, they're the very trusted people in the country right now, and then everybody, they're looking up to them. As they were elders last 100 years, they're the one who were ruling Somalia. Now they have the power and authority to fix and to put Somalia back on the track.
The international community is running out of patience. This temporary government has been funded for more than 7 years. The transitional period must come to an end on August 20th. The security situation here is too volatile to hold proper presidential elections. It'll be the members of this parliament who will choose the next Somali president. The building has been repainted, but the politicians are not in place yet, and there are questions over whether the August deadline will be met.
I want to make sure that this process is completed on time, that this process is transparent, accountable, and legitimate and credible. That's my duty now, and that's what I'm now focusing.
But a leaked UN report says millions of dollars of taxpayers' funds intended for Somalia's transitional federal government have gone missing. It claims for every $10 received, $7 never made it into state coffers. Somalia's opposition says the country needs new faces.
The international community should bar these people from standing for elections for two reasons. One is they have stolen a lot of money. Two is they're going to destabilize the Somali political system if they're allowed to come back into the system.
All of this is far removed from the reality of life on the outskirts of Mogadishu, in the camps for the displaced. Politics means very little here. Young Somalis have never voted in an election, and they have never had a stable government. They've always relied on outside help. But if this political process works, for the first time in decades, Somalis have a chance to shape their own future. Nazneen Moshiri, Al Jazeera, Mogadishu.
OK, well, let's take a brief moment now to look at some more of the findings of this report. It says that out of every $10 received by Somalia's transitional government between 2009 and 2010, 7 are unaccounted for. Not the first time such concerns have been raised. Back in May, the World Bank said $131 million in government revenues was unaccounted for from that same period. The UN report also says almost a quarter of government spending in 2011, that's more than $12 million, was what it calls absorbed by the office of the President, the Prime Minister and the Parliamentary Speaker. And it says a further $40 million in government revenues in 2011 could be missing. Well, plenty here to discuss, and joining us to do so are our guests. In Mogadishu, we have Peter de Clercq, the UN's Deputy Special Representative for Somalia. And in Nairobi, Abdurahman Abdullahi Baadiyow, one of the leaders of the Islah Party, which is the Muslim Brotherhood in Somalia. He's also a presidential candidate. Mr. Abdurahman, we'll start with you. The UN report has said that there has been an outright theft of public resources and that this has become a system of governance. These are very strong words. Do you agree with them?
Yes, I agree with that wording, because Somalia is known for that wide corruption and embezzlement of public funds for so long. And the Somalis were aware of that kind of embezzlement, but it's first time that international community represented by UN Security Council Monitoring Group has documented that kind of corruption, and we are very grateful to have that kind of information, and we think that it's the beginning of a new era for Somalia, because it is the beginning of accountability, which have been missing in Somalia in the last 22 years of statelessness.
Okay, well, just give us an idea, if you can, how you see this corruption manifesting itself in the government on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, corruption is known because, according to the report, 7 out of each $10 that has been collected or donated to Somalia as funds from foreign-friendly countries or international community has been misappropriated, mismanaged, embezzled, or used as a corruption system. And in that case, we have failed, the Somali regime has failed to establish a national institution, functioning national institution. We have failed to have a functioning national security institutions. Because of that kind of problem, of that kind of widespread corruption, security in the hands of security now is tackled under AMISOM alone, and Somalis are supporting the system, while Somalia has a largest army, well trained in its history, and Somalis are not used for that purpose, because without corruption we couldn't have stability and peace in Somalia, because the government is corrupted and embezzlement and of public funds is widespread. Okay, you raised plenty of points there, and we will work through them. We will work through the points that you raised within the half hour. First of all, I just want to cross over to Peter de Clercq, because, of course, the UN has been backing this transitional government in Somalia for a number of years. Now, I know that you can't comment directly on this report because it hasn't yet been officially released, but can you just give us an idea of your experience of working with this current government?
I think after 20 years of war and of conflict, obviously there's a lot to do in terms of accountability and transparency. And we are standing up in the next few weeks, first of all, together with the elders that represent the traditional leadership in this country, a new provisional constitution that will be the basis for the government that will continue governing this country, and a new parliament that by the 20th of August will indeed start functioning, a new government, new leadership. And this is a fantastic opportunity we have after 20 years of actually doing things right, moving in a positive direction, and enhancing the accountability of the Somali leadership to its people.
I just want to pick up on one point you made there, Mr. de Clercq, about this being an opportunity for a new government, a new leadership. I mean, really, is Somalia going to be seeing new leaders at the top, or is it just going to be more of the status quo?
Well, that's at the moment in progress. We have a process whereby the traditional leaders of this country, the traditional elders, are choosing a new parliament. That will also be looked at by the international community, and a quality control mechanism to ensure that the new members of parliament indeed meet minimum criteria and are indeed people of repute that will represent this country. So that first of all, there is a safeguard built into the selection of the new parliamentarians. And then clearly beyond the transitional period, there is very concrete ideas exist on the setting up of a joint financial accountability mechanism that will ensure that the flow of resources, both from outside and from within, are used to the best of let's say, the public interest. So there is, I think, quite a lot of commitment on the part of the international community to support this process, and we have in place a mechanism whereby new leadership will be chosen that hopefully indeed will be the best of Somalia's people, that will represent them indeed.
Okay, I mean, given the very damning nature of not only the UN report, but also, let's not forget, the World Bank report, which reached similar conclusions of missing millions. Given that, do you think that the current government members should be barred from standing again in this election?
Again, ultimately, this is a decision that the Somali people themselves will take through the traditional leaders. They represent the Somali people at large. They're well aware of the fact that they play the role of, in fact, an electorate in the absence of formal elections. So they know that this awesome responsibility is on their shoulders. As I said, there's also a mechanism of quality control that's built in to ensure, indeed, that this selection of the parliamentarians happens in a way that we get the best people to represent the Somalis.
Okay.
So these are the mechanisms in place to do that.
Okay, Mr. Abdurahman, what do you think of these mechanisms? Do you think that this quality control is enough to allow an even playing field for all presidential candidates?
The process now, that is ongoing process, it's a repetition of a former process that has been established in Arta peace process in 2000, and it allows, it eliminates the armed groups to dominate political power. It gives power to the traditional elders and civil society individuals and organizations. I was one of those who has organized that conference in 2000, and the mechanism that has been established, it was closer to some sort of traditional democracy that is very innovative in Somalia, whereby there is no political parties, and how to deal to create a parliament where there is no political party and there is no election. So in that sense, Somalia has accepted a model that's called 4.5, where 4 big clans and other clans has been put into a 1.5. They can divide among themselves as members of the parliament, and in that sense, we have created a parliament which was about 225 members of the parliament. In that sense, that parliament has elected the president. The same process now is repeated after that process was a little bit disrupted. And now I think that traditional elders now have taken the power. They are, the destiny of New Somalia is in the hands of the Somali traditional elders. They are those who will elect constituent assembly members who will approve the constitution, and they are those who will select among their members new parliament, and that parliament will elect the president. We hope that Somalis are now more than any time else are more conscious of their situation, and they are really inspired by the Arab changes in the world.
Well, one would hope so, because there's a lot of challenges facing the country. I'm just going to jump in there because I want to get an idea of your chances, or what you think your chances are of winning this presidential election, of indeed unseating the incumbent President Ahmad.
Yes, my chances are it's very high, because I was working in Somalia in the last 20 years as a civil society activist, working in education, in reconciliation, and I'm known individual in the whole Somalis. I worked in all regions and all districts. I never participated in the civil war, and I was always against war. I was pro-activist and peace activist in Somalia.
But if I can just jump in, because you do, one thing that might count against you is that you live in Nairobi, that you haven't stayed in Somalia.
No, I stayed in Somalia the last 20 years. Who told you that I lived in Nairobi? I stayed in Somalia since 1993, and I worked in Somalia and started a grassroots movement for peace and education and in health without the government. And I'm well known for reconciliation efforts in all over Somalia. So I have great support from all sorts, all regions of Somalia in the diaspora. I have support from all military officers because I'm a former military officer. I have a support for all most of educated elites of Somalia because I'm a highly educated man. So I have a big support within Somalia. So I have a big chance now.
Good, Mr. de Clercq, a lot of confidence there from at least one presidential candidate that he has a chance to unseat the incumbent. Do you think that these elections are going to be a level playing field?
Well, we have put a number of mechanisms in place to ensure that it is. We will monitor this process very, very closely, and in the protocols that have been set up to guide the end of this transitional period, there are a number of rules and regulations built in to make sure that we do get to the end in not just making it to the end, but making it to the end in an accountable and positive manner. So we'll be monitoring this process and we'll be watching it very closely, but I must say that I have confidence that things are moving in a very good direction. There's a buzz in the air here in Mogadishu that people really want change, that they really want things to move forward. Many people are coming back from the diaspora. They leave a safe environment, secure environment, leave families behind to come and contribute here to the new Somalia. They want to be here when things are happening. So there is a positive spirit around, and it's the best chance we've had in 20 years to make things right.
Okay, we have digressed somewhat from the actual issue that we are approaching of corruption. I should make this point at this time that we did try to get a member of the Somali government onto Inside Story to defend against these allegations that have been leaked from this UN report, and no one would make themselves available. So, Peter de Clercq, I'm going to point to you some allegations from the president that these allegations are absolutely and demonstrably false. Are you concerned that the president, that the government is not even willing to acknowledge that the problem of corruption exists?
Well, I don't think it is any question that there is significant corruption after 20 years of what can only be described as a terrible situation, as war, as conflict, as lack of institutions, lack of administration. So clearly there is a lot that needs to be set right. There's a lot of things that need to be done. I cannot comment, as you know, on the content of the report because it hasn't been formally submitted to the Security Council. But certainly we are aware that there is a lot to be done. We are aware that the international community is very willing and very keen, in fact, to support an improvement of the accountability. And we are talking very concretely about such an accountability mechanism that will help provide clear answers on how resources are being used in this country.
Is this an issue that the UN has been aware of for some time? Why is it only being highlighted now? Well,
again, I don't think it would come as a surprise to anyone that there are very significant things wrong in terms of accountability. We simply do not have the mechanisms in place for that. There simply isn't the capacity. In that sense, as I said, I don't think it does come as any surprise to anyone that there are serious questions about how resources are being utilized. But it's exactly that where we want a new administration to focus. Is exactly that where we will need a lot of capacity to be built, and it's exactly there that we're willing to provide the support that is required.
And we do appear, apologies, to have lost our guest in Nairobi, Mr. Abdurahman. So I'm just going to continue the show, the rest of the show, with you, Mr. Peter de Clercq, UN Deputy Representative for Somalia, coming to us from Mogadishu. As speaking on behalf of the UN there in Somalia, how accountable do you think the UN should be for this high level of corruption that we're seeing in Mogadishu?
Well, I don't think the UN can be accountable on behalf of the Somali administration. I think we need to help the new Somali administration to be accountable, first of all, to its own people, and obviously to the international community for the resources that it needs. And the more accountable it can be, the better the systems that are in place, the more resources can flow into this country, and the better we can make use of those resources. So we will help in that, but again, it all requires Somali ownership. It all requires the Somalis themselves to fully believe in this, to fully believe in the future. And as I said, I really think that that chance is there. I really sense that there is this buzz in the air that people really want things to change, and that people really are going to ask their leaders things that may not have been asked in the past 20 years.
And how confident are you that the government there in Mogadishu can stabilise the whole country of Somalia? Indeed, how much does it control outside of Mogadishu?
It's clear that advances are being made, and that the sphere of influence of the central government is expanding. What is actually even more important than that is that we consolidate that ground. And to consolidate that ground, people have to see the difference of being under the new administration, which means that the new administration has to deliver for them, has to deliver not only in terms of material progress, but also in terms of, for instance, transitional justice and livelihoods. So it's really key that, again, the government will be unable to do that, and that a new government would step up to the plate to deliver that to its people. And this is the turning point that we have reached now. It's not just a matter of military successes, it's a matter of stabilization of the country. It's a matter of bringing people hope by showing them that there is an administration that actually represents them, that they can actually hold accountable. And that means a lot of work needs to be done, but I think we are making the first steps here.
Yeah, because it is true, isn't it, that people have believed that poor performance on behalf of the government, the weakness of the government, has prompted Somalis to turn to other organisations such as Al-Shabaab and rebels that are trying to bring the government down.
I think it's essential that we demonstrate that this country can have a government that indeed represents its people, that works for its people, that delivers for its people. This is the turning point, as I said, that we have reached now, and I think this is the opportunity we should not fail to grasp.
How worried are you, how concerned are you that the election process is going to be a smooth one? Because we must remember that we are still seeing violent attacks in Somalia. Indeed, there was even a bomb in Mogadishu that killed a member of parliament just on Monday.
No, absolutely. Security is very much a concern. At this point in time, as you know, we're still talking about a process of representation rather than election. So what is happening here in the next few weeks is that we will be selecting a number of parliamentarians and people to approve the new constitution. We will select those, not elect those. So we're still quite some distance away from elections, because for elections we're going to need a more stable environment than we have at the moment. But this is something that immediately after the transition, when a new government comes into play, we will be working on, and as soon as possible those elections will then be held, which will be the first time that Somalis can actually choose their new leadership rather than seeing it being elected or electing themselves.
Absolutely, and that of course does mark the end of the UN mandate as well, backing the government. But what role do you think the international community needs to continue playing to ensure that this is a good government that's formed, that the proper institutions are in place, and indeed that a justice system is built up?
It all goes to the national ownership of all these things. At the end of the day, no solution can be imposed, and certainly not on the Somali people, who are very, very strong in their opinions. So clearly people need to believe in this themselves. Clearly this needs to be owned by Somalis who really want the best for the country. This is why it's so important that the new parliament indeed is representative, even if it's selected, and that it does all the right things in the next 3 to 4 years until we are able to do these, to set up the elections. The UN will be there to support this process, but so will be other members of the international community and of partners that are here to work with the Somalis, the Turkish government, a number of governments from the Middle East and from other parts of the world. So I think there is a lot of goodwill on the international community side to make this happen.
Peter de Clercq in Mogadishu. We have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us here on Inside Story today. Also, thanks to Abdurahman Abdullahi Baadiyow in Nairobi. Thanks to you too for watching this edition of Inside Story. Do send us any thoughts and ideas about the programme to insidestory@aljazeera.net. Bye for now.